Hi, this is Jeannie at Trendy Tree, and today I'm going to show you how to take a basic white ruffle wreath and decorate it with these ladybugs and ribbons for a spring or summer wreath for your door. Okay? We'll have all the supplies listed in the video. There'll also be a written tutorial on Trendy Tree. All of the items come from Trendy Tree, and we'll create some kits with all the items in it to make it easy for you to buy. Now, usually those kits will sell out in a few weeks, but we'll leave the tutorial up because you can always pick out different colors of mesh and other embellishments and use the same technique to make a different kind of wreath. Okay? There's a little subscribe button down at the bottom right on your screen. Be sure and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss our next videos. And we would appreciate it so much if you share our videos with your friends and give us a thumbs up before you leave. We appreciate it. And you can always follow us on Facebook and Pinterest, and we'll have those links in the video too. Okay? Well, let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is just make a white ruffle wreath. And we're going to start with a 24-inch pencil wreath. I just wanted to show you, this is a pencil wreath, and this one is just a work wreath. They're the exact same size. The metal rings, the only difference is the twists on the work wreath are about the size of the limbs on a Christmas tree versus on a pencil wreath, they're about the diameter of a pencil. For this project, you could use several different colors of wreath. We're going to just start out with a white, but you could use silver or burlap, just about most any color because it's really, the wreath is not going to show. We're going to use some white mesh. This is a 10-inch mesh, and the SKU number on it is RE1301R1. Now, I'll post the supplies that we use in this wreath, at the end or at the beginning. But it's 10 inches in width and 10 yards in length, and this is what we use to make our ruffle wreath. This particular mesh is white mesh with a white foil. It's more like a white film. It's shiny, but it's not like a metallic shine. And it's really the whitest mesh that we have. But you can make this base out of, white with silver, white with iridescent, or white paper. Just any kind of white mesh, but I would stay with the 10-inch because we're going to make our ruffles out of it, and that works better. It does not work well to take a 21-inch piece of mesh and split it down the middle and then make 10-inch ruffles because you'll have too much raveling. So we're going to take our mesh and we're going to cut it in 10-inch lengths. And this is just a piece that I already had left over from something else, so I'm going to start with it. You can just cut it with scissors. You don't have to use one of these cutters, but when you're cutting a lot of mesh, a cutter like this does make it easier. Now we're going to do 3 layers of ruffles on our wreath, and you just take, it doesn't really matter if you start on the inside or the outside, but we're going to take our twist and just kind of smooth them out, get them straightened out and out of the way. And we'll probably just start on the outside. But we're going to take our 3 pieces of mesh, and you can see how the poly mesh just curls up naturally. Well, we're going to just let that lay that down, and we're going to scrunch up through the center of the 10-inch piece. And when you do that, make sure that you have your selvage or your uncut edges to the outside, and you're going to scrunch up through the middle starting at your cut edge. And you just scrunch that up, make a little bow, looks like a bow tie. Just hold that. It works a lot easier if you got somebody else helping you. Now you can do these, you can lay these ruffles in one at a time, whatever is easier for you. I'm going to go ahead and take this whole cluster of 3, and I'm just going to kind of make sure that they're just not all laying exactly right on top of each other. I'm going to kind of turn some of them, opposite way, and open up a twist. You see that? And just lay that down. Lay your clump of 3 ruffles in, and just give your twist, just 1 or 2 twists right now because we're not finished with this. We'll be adding other items. Now, we're going to go around and put a cluster of 3 ruffles in each twist. This 18-inch wreath, a 24-inch wreath, excuse me. Now, on our 24-inch wreaths, they actually measure, the largest metal ring measures 15 inches. But once you have the addition of your mesh and other products, you come out with a wreath that measures 24 inches or larger. So that's why this is called a 24-inch wreath. If you're buying a wreath from somewhere else, just be sure and check to see what the rings actually measure. But there's 18 twists on each wreath, and we're going to put 3 clumps of ruffles in each wreath. So you'll need like 54 pieces. On the 10-inch mesh, you should be able to get about 36 pieces. It might be 34, 35, 36. Sometimes you might get 37. But about 36 pieces off of a 10-yard roll. So it'll take 2 rolls of the 10-inch to do the wreath, but it won't take all of it. You'll have some pieces left over. And we're just going to continue to make our cluster of ruffles. And you can make this wreath also just using a 21-inch mesh and doing the poof technique. I like to do the ruffle wreath just because it's so easy to do. It takes maybe a little more time, but even if this is your first wreath, anybody can do this because your pieces all come out the same and your wreath will be nice and uniform all the way around, whether this is your first wreath or your 200th wreath. And like I say, if it is your first wreath, sometimes it might be easier to go all the way around with 1 layer, then go back with 2 layers, and then go back with a 3rd layer. It's just whatever's easy for you, easiest for you. Okay, and we're just going to work all the way around the wreath on the outer ring, and then we're going to come back and do the inner ring. Okay, there's our wreath after we've gone all the way around the outer ring with 3 layers of ruffles. And you can see how nice and uniform that is. Makes it very easy to keep things all nice and even, okay? So now we're going to go to the inner ring and put 3 layers of ruffles in each twist on the inner ring. Here's our wreath after we've gone all the way around both rings with 3 layers of ruffles in each wreath. So this is just your basic white ruffle wreath. It measures about 24-25 inches at this point. It'll be even larger once we add in more product. Now you can take this basic white wreath and decorate it in so many different ways. And if you're just making this wreath for yourself, that's the good thing about it, because you can put things on it for this season, or for you could decorate this for Valentine's, for Christmas, all sorts of occasions. And just start with your basic white wreath and add ribbons and other products, and then you can take those off, add something else. Now, people always asking me, is there any way to keep mesh from raveling? And there isn't. All poly mesh ravels. You'll find that the higher quality mesh ravels less than cheap mesh that you say buy at Walmart or something like that. This is Craig Bachman mesh, and to us it's one of the best products on the market. But it still ravels. You just have to clip strings at the end. The only thing that I know that will keep or help the mesh from raveling will be to make as few cuts in it as possible and to handle as little as possible. But the more you work with it, it's going to ravel. Just know that you're going to have to clip strings off your final product. Okay? So now let's decorate it. To decorate our Ladybug Wreath, I've chosen these 2. This is a wire mesh ladybug from Craig Bachman, and I think we'll use 2 of those. We have an assortment of ribbons. This is beautiful ribbon that has a ladybug in the center and a red and black edging, and just a basic black and white stripe. It's good if you alternate your ribbons, use some 2.5 inch, some 1.5. Just change those sizes up. And then here's a pretty, just a basic black and white polka dot. And I think we might add in some green. Now this is a Christmas ribbon, but it's green. It has a little red edge on it. So I think it might be nice to add in some green. We'll just try that and see. The first thing that we want to do is we're going to cut some ribbon strips. And the thing to do is always practice cutting your ribbon strip. Get your length before, get the length of the strip before you cut all your ribbon to make ribbon strips. So we're going to take just a scrap ribbon from another project and our scrap leftover ribbon and cut a ribbon strip and measure it to see what length we need for this particular wreath. I cut a couple of ribbon strips. This one is 12 inches and this one is 14. I think I'm going to just settle in the middle and go with 13 on this wreath. Next, I'm going to go ahead and cut my ribbon strips, and you can put your ribbon strips on in several different ways. You can put them on, one at a time, or you can group, two together. I'm going to try just stacking my whole 4 ribbons together. And what I'm going to do, I want my ladybug ribbon to show the most and probably the green to show the least. So I'm going to start making a ribbon cluster. Well, first thing I have to do is chevron the ends of my ribbon. And to do that, you take your ribbon lengthwise, fold it in half, and then fold those edges away from you. You have that folded edge, and then just make an angled cut across that end away from you. And then when you open it up, you have chevroned both ends of your ribbon, okay? So we want to make that cut in all of our ribbons. Just fold in half, lengthwise, and then fold again away from you. Okay. So we'll do that to all of our ribbon strips. Now, like I say, I'm going to have my green to show the least amount. So take your ribbon, scrunch it up in the center, and just start a ribbon cluster. You just have to play with it and see what pattern that you want, or random ribbon strips, however you want to do that. I am going to kind of lay them at different angles when I pinch them together and hold them in my hand like that. Of course, I'm going to put my more narrow ribbon on top. Okay, so I have my ribbon cluster. Now, to attach my ribbon cluster, I'm going to open up one of my twists. It doesn't matter where you start, but untwist. Make sure that your ruffles stay in place, and then lay your ribbon cluster down on top of that, and then reclose that twist. Now, this time, I'm not planning to add anything else into the twist, so I'm going to close my twist with 3 or 4 turns. And then I'm going to just pull my ribbon, fluff out my ribbons. Fix your ribbons where they're all face up. Of course, you'll have to straighten these out several times before you're through, because every time you move your wreath, you're going to bend your ribbons a little bit. But that's what your ribbon clusters will look like. And then we're going to go all the way around. I'm going to put a ribbon cluster in each wreath. Most of this ribbon has, well, all of this ribbon has 10 yards on it, so there'll be more than enough to go around the wreath by putting a ribbon cluster in each wreath, in each twist. Okay? So I'm going to do that, and then I'll show you the rest. I've cut all my ribbon strips now, and that's probably going to be the most time-consuming part of this project. It does take a little while to cut that. And these are 10-yard rolls of ribbon, and it looks like we've probably got about 3.5 yards left on each roll. So that's good. You can make some ribbon strips for another project, or we may make a bow if we have enough at the end to go on our wreath. There's our wreath after we've added a ribbon cluster into each twist. Now at the end, you'll need to go back and smooth out, your ribbon strips, because they'll get bent as we work with the wreath. Now next we're going to add these ladybugs, and they're made out of wire. So we're going to take some chenille stems and just attach around the legs and decide, and then we'll attach the ladybug directly to the work wreath. The first thing you want to do is kind of look at your wreath and decide where you want to put your placement of your bugs. I think what we'll do is put both bugs on one side, maybe something like that, and then maybe offset that with a bow. But you do want to wire your ladybug. Just separate your mesh and ribbons and wire it directly to the work wreath frame. You can also use zip tie or chenille stem. Here's our wreath after we finished it. We added the 2 ladybugs and secured them to the work wreath frame with chenille stems and just made a simple bow out of the remaining ribbon. Now there was about 3.5 yards, so this is just a bow, just a simple loop bow made out of 3.5 yards out of the green ribbon, and I just took the other ribbons and just made another bow. I mean, you could use either or, swap it up or whatever, but anyway, that was the the remaining ribbon. Be sure when you're all done to go back and clip your strings, straighten out all your ribbons, and check your wreath from the back and make sure it doesn't have any sharp places or anything like that on it that would scratch your wall. It measures about 28 inches in width now, and it's about 9 to 10 inches in depth. There's a little button down at the front of your screen that's a subscribe button, so you can subscribe to our channel so you won't miss any of our videos coming out. We would appreciate it very much too if you share our videos with your friends. It just helps us so much. All these items that we used for this wreath are available at Trendy, and we will have a limited number of kits made up with these items, but even at that, but when those kits sell out, we will still leave the tutorial up for basic instruction, because you could do this basic wreath and just change up your mesh, your ribbons, and your embellishments and make all sorts of wreaths like this. Okay? Thanks for dropping in. We appreciate it. Oh, be sure and follow us on Facebook and Pinterest too. Thanks now. Bye-bye.